In today's episode, we ask, can you reinvent the pocket clip? And we answer a few of your questions from the mailbag, so stay tuned. Well, that's what we're going to ask ourselves today with the Kershaw Concierge. Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another episode here at Gideon's Tactical. I'm your host, Aaron. Now, not only does this have a really unique pocket clip design that I've never seen before, but also we're getting kind of a high performing, if you will, with some of the features and some of the design aspects to this Concierge for a budget price. We have KVT ball bearing bushings we're going to talk about today on this design. It is HCR 13 MOV steel, but we got contoured G10 handle scales. We got a lot of cool factor plus that interesting pocket clip, and you're not going to pay for it. It's $25 to $35. Definitely falls into Kershaw's budget line. We'll have links in the description below over to Amazon, Blade HQ, as well as don't forget about our Knockaround Sunglass affiliate. If you're looking for high value, high performing sunglasses, they make some awesome ones, male, female, kids. It's a great company if you're looking for those inexpensive but high performing sunglasses. So all three links to those three places below helps me get out there, purchase gear just like this, bought this bad boy for us to test out and review. So throughout this video, not only the product that we're looking at here today is Kershaw, but other products we're going to run in, or just products in general you may want to purchase. When you use those hyperlinks, literally helps pay for more products for us to test out and review. So thank you guys. So yeah, you're not paying a lot, but you're kind of getting a lot in not only a new unique design feature, you're getting the ball bearings, you're getting just a cool looking design. Really cool. Kind of reminds me of some of ZT's light duty folders in its design overall. In its action, its flipping action. We're just going to break this blade down. Is it a good knife? Is it worth purchasing for that, sub $35 price point? Or is it just kind of gimmicky? Are there too many gimmicks involved and just not enough performance to validate purchasing this blade when there's so many other budget-friendly blades from Kershaw as well as other knife companies out there? So that's what we're going to ask today. That's what we're going to look at as we break down the Concierge. Will it usher you in and get you seated into a delicious EDC blade? Or are you going to say, I need to speak to the manager? That's what we're going to ask today. Let's jump to it. Okay, let's go ahead and hit lockup and deployment and centering and all of that here on the blade. First off, centering is perfect. Straight down the center there. No issue or complaint, no rubbing on either side. We are looking at a flipper design with that nice little stylized pivot there. And it is going to be running on KVT bushings, which are ball bearing bushings. Really smooth, so without even flicking my wrist, boom. Going to slide open very easily. There is no real wobble that I can feel side to side. It's really solid lockup up and down, maybe just a hair wobble side to side, but the lockup up and down is solid. And there's that stop pin right there in the back as well. Now, the liner lock is decent. It's not anything to write home about. You can see there, it's kind of missing. It's not 100% flush with the back of the spine there. I would have liked to see that. It's just a hair off to the side, but the lockup is fine. Not too bad to disengage either and close up. Got a decent detent, not like a super, like tight detent, but you can feel it kind of suck the blade back into place. It's not going to accidentally come out in your pocket. So overall, for a form-produced lockup and design, it's really good for the KVT bushings. That's awesome. Much better than Teflon or even bronze in the deployment factor of it being super smooth, super slick, very easy to do without even flicking your wrist, which is always really nice. Now, the drawback to ball-bearing bushings is that sometimes you can get grit and dirt in there. They may take a little bit more maintenance than, say, bronze bushings would be, but I own a lot of ball bearing bushing knives and I've never had an issue with them getting gunked up or dirty. I mean, you'd have to be really throwing them in the dirt a lot, and this is not really an outdoor knife. This is designed as a nice simple EDC design to carry around town every day. All right, when we move on to the handles here, what we are looking at is going to be 4 1/4 inches from front to back. Very standard for a lot of these mid-size EDC knives. We have G10 handles, which, as you can see, are really machined well. They have some really good texture on them. They just look really nice. They look like wood almost, blacked out there. We do have probably a Zytel spacer with just a hair bit of jimping that's kind of blacked out a little bit on the back there. Some flow-through construction on the front end there. Nice and rounded. They're not flat. I really like that. I like handle scales that are not just flat-sided. You know, it gives you a little contouring. And it is going to be a little bit thicker at 0.55, so that will definitely fill up your hand a little bit better than some other, you know, thinner pocket knives out there. You know, you could argue, oh, well, it's not as EDC-able. Maybe, but I mean, for the way that the knife is designed, it didn't take up extra space in the pocket, you know, or anything like that. And really was very, very comfortable. Good lanyard hole out the back there. Because of the frame, and they have not milled out either side, and I believe that's probably something to do also with the making sure that they have good strength here with the pocket clip that we'll talk about in a second. This does come in at 4.3 ounces, which is a little heavy for this size of knife. Usually you'll find these more around like 3.7 to 4 ounces. Not a huge deal. It didn't feel overly heavy, but it is a little beefier than some other ones out there. Some of you will love it. Some of you will kind of be like, I wish it was lighter. So those are just things that I noticed. But for ergonomics, you know, no jimping. Nice big flipper there, though. It's going to keep you really locked into place on my large size glove hands, as you guys all know. It just really feels good. And the pocket clip, which we're about to get to next, you can see there it's completely flush. Just a little bit sticking out right there. So obviously, you know, this isn't like an outdoor knife that you're going to be bearing down on super hard. I mean, it's an EDC knife you're wearing to the office, around town, going to pick up groceries, you know, that type of thing. So you're going to be holding it for short periods of time, in my opinion, but it feels great, and the ergonomics are better than most other pocket knives because that clip does almost completely disappear into that slit that they've designed into the G10. All right, we're going to go ahead and hit the blade portion. And this is something that's a little, I was surprised. I'll just say that. Now we got this really nice kind of titanium coated blade. You know, it's not a satin or a stone wash. I like it. It's not a black coating either. Kind of stands out from the crowd, and it's going to match those liners and all the standoff colors, you know, of this kind of titanium look. I really like it a lot. It's classy. Got a great relief edge on it. It's going to be from handle to tip. Going to be 3¼ inches. Actual cutting edge is about 3 inches overall. Got a really classic design sweep, very similar to a lot of other ZT from the same designer knives, which is pretty sweet. And does not have a 90-degree spine, you know, machined spine. Good precise tip there. I mean, it's designed as a, you know, precision EDC knife, and it absolutely is designed that way. It is made out of HCR13 MOV steel, which for a budget-friendly knife is a decent steel. You're seeing a lot more knives coming onto the market that are using Sandvik or D2, and I just really hope that our U.S. companies, because those usually come from Chinese companies, I would really hope to see some just a little bit higher-end steels coming out of our U.S.-owned companies, but manufacture their knives in China, like this particular design, and start to move away from the HCRs and like AUS 8s. For some designs would be great. This one, you know, because it's a little got some extra little pieces to it, little design aspects with the pocket clip we'll talk about. It would have been nice to have a little bit higher end steel, but you know, it's a user steel. You sharpen it up once or twice a week. It holds an edge decently, and it's very easy to get a sharp edge back on it. This is my little bit of a problem, is that it's a hollow grind. Normally I don't have any issue with hollow grinds, particularly in pocket knives, but the shoulder transition up to this flat right here that you're seeing is pretty abrupt. And so I was expecting it when I got it. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a wicked slicer. I'm really looking forward to, you know, going through cardboard and all the type of tests that we do around here. And I'll be honest, it bound up more than a lot of my other pocket knives and a lot of my other Kershaws. And the one that we're running in a little bit, the Dividend, is an example of that, which also has a hollow grind. And I was really surprised that the shoulder going in from the hollow to this flat portion right here is too abrupt. It kind of hinders the slicing capability of the knife. It bound up a lot. You know, cutting rope, piercing packaging, you know, food prep, it's not going to be that big a deal. But if you're doing like a lot of cardboard slicing, I did notice that the shoulder was a problem. And if they had just more gradually brought it in, it would have been an easier slicer. But it will bind up on a lot of cardboard slicing. So wasn't super impressed with the overall performance of the blade design because of the abrupt shoulder. And just that abrupt transition from hollow to that flat back there. And so I'll be honest, that was somewhat disappointing. All right, so we're going to take a brief timeout at this point to answer some of your guys' questions from the mailbag, and then we'll get into the last portion where we really break down the pocket clip and see what it has to offer, good or bad. But before we do that, let's go ahead and discuss these two questions. So the two that I decided to grab was the first one, which is from Gabriel Ramos, and he asks, if you could make any unhealthy food healthy, what would it be? I'm actually a really big sucker for hot tamales, the candy hot tamales. I love those. And Mike and Ike's, they're very similar for those of you around the world. They're kind of a harder outer with a kind of gummy inner, piece. Hot tamales are just hot and spicy cinnamon candies. Mike and Ike's are very similar, but they're kind of fruit flavored. I love those, and man, if those were like good for you, I would be popping those constantly. And then the next question comes from the 4Cap, and he asks, or she asks, if I was going to retire somewhere, where would I want to retire? And honestly, for me, I love the mountains so much. I like to visit the beach, but I couldn't see myself living like on an island or a beach or something like that. So I would say probably a secluded place, either in the Rocky Mountains or possibly in like Montana or Idaho, if I could find like a really good spot that I could enjoy winter time as well, that I could have good forest, lots of property, a good home, some maybe ATVs and stuff, and access to a pretty good size lake. Would be really nice to live like on the edge of a lake with like a forest behind me and some property and stuff. That would be rocking, so that I could start to get into some more water sports that I want to do, like kayaking and things that you guys might see in a year or two, depending on how the next year or two rolls out. But yeah, that is how I would love to live out my retirement, is in that way. I hope you guys have enjoyed this part of the video with the mailbag. If you want to get involved yourself, just put #mailbag and ask your questions below. Get outside the box, ask interesting, different, kind of new perspective type of questions, and you might get it answered in an upcoming video. So now let's go ahead and get back to the Kershaw Concierge. All right, so onto the pocket clip, again, matching that kind of titanium design there, contouring a little bit into the handle, and again, the whole idea being that it recesses itself almost completely flush inside the handle, and then when you slide it into your pocket, it will come out enough and give you good retention. It does everything that it claims that it can do. It is almost completely flush, more ergonomic than other pocket knives out there with pocket clips. It holds great retention in your pocket, no issue there at all, and does what it is intended to do, which is hide away basically and be a hideaway pocket clip and just help with the ergonomics of the knife. Now, downsides to that is, one, you can't really do that and make it an ambidextrous knife, so lefties, you're out of luck. And if you did make it ambidextrous, then you have this giant slit in over here, which not only is going to hurt the aesthetics of the knife, but also the ergonomics of the knife. Whichever side the pocket clip is not on is going to have this big old giant gaping hole and not be very ergonomic, because the pocket clip fills that up when you're holding it. So that's a downside. So you can only really make it either a fully left-handed pocket knife or a fully right-handed pocket knife. You can't do both. So that's a downside to it. And really, the overarching thing is that it's cool, but particularly in this type of knife, being a small, lightweight duty EDC, I don't really see a need for it. It's cool. They're probably testing it out to see if they're going to add it to bigger, more expensive knives maybe down the line. But I see this being more beneficial on either a knife that is designed as an outdoor pocket knife, like hunting, camping, that type of thing, a bigger, larger handle, bigger, larger blade that's really designed for those type of tasks, so that you're holding it for an extended period of time, doing a lot of cutting tasks, and you want that handle or that pocket clip to go away and disappear. Quick EDC tasks, none of my pocket knives, unless they're obnoxiously, stupidly designed, none of their pocket clips can really get in the way for your average EDC duty task. Or like a tactical knife, a knife that is designed to be a soldier knife that they're gripping and they're doing lots of hard tasks with for extended periods of time, and a pocket clip may start to wear and cause hot spots. That's where I would see this being more beneficial than just on a light duty EDC knife. So it absolutely does what it's intended to do. There are some drawbacks, and on this particular design, it's cool, but is it needed? Not really. Well, folks, let's bring it to a conclusion with this. Does the pocket clip do what it says it can do? Yes. Is it revolutionary and going to change the industry? No. For a light-duty EDC, a loop over, it would have been just fine. It's not like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it just isn't as good a slicer as I was expecting it to be. So with those two aspects, it's okay. It's all right. $25 to $35 knife, but there's nothing that makes it, for me, stand out from the crowd, unless you just want to try out like a cool new feature. Kershaw makes plenty of other good knives out there that I would probably pick up first, that are kind of in that light duty, carry to the office, go out on a night on the town with your girlfriend or wife type of knife, that this doesn't scream by me. to me, and the performance is actually somewhat lacking with that hollow grind and that really abrupt shoulder. With that, guys, thank you so much for coming over today, checking out the channel. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Love to hear you guys' thoughts. Any questions that you have, answer in the comments below. Don't forget to get involved with the mailbag with that hashtag mailbag. You might get one of your questions answered in an upcoming video. Don't forget about the Gideon's Tactical Show going live every Saturday. More of a topical, discussion type of show that's really fun and, completely different than a gear review show that we usually do here, and just a different way to entertain and give information and have fun together. And finally, guys, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. See you out there.